Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us here on the Daily Racing Form YouTube. I'm Gino Buccola alongside Ashley Mailloux with producer Lucia helping us out for the Friday race of the day as we head on over to Erie, Pennsylvania. Ashley, I was lucky to make this trip a couple times when I was working for once TVG, now FanDuel TV. Our good friend Dave Weaver and I went to Erie, Pennsylvania and took a look at the Presque Masters and the Presque Mile. And I always have some fond memories when this race comes up. It's going to be the Friday race of the day, so you can get free PPs for this one. And Ashley, this used to be a race that had real importance heading into the Filly and Mare Sprint. There was a few years where you had horses like Informed Decision, Musical Romance, Groupie Doll, and they all ran in this race and then went and had really good success. Race was not run for a couple years. It's come back. I thought this is one of the stronger renewals we've seen in the last few years. You're getting some real support from some strong horses coming down from Woodbine.
Yeah, absolutely. The Woodbine contingent is strong. You mentioned some of the names. I was there when Musical Romance won, and I always loved what she went on to do in her career and even before running this race. But I think the main horses outside of maybe L&J are the Woodbine horses. Obviously, we know what they can do on a similar surface. It's Tapeta up at Woodbine. But there are some others that I think are a little interesting that you go through their past performances. You're trying to figure out their turf form. Is it going to translate? Even the case of Pandora's Gift in here, runner-up last year in this event, was almost getting the job done. She's been on the turf since then. She's going to regroup in this spot. I think she's a major player too.
Yeah, I know you've liked this filly, and she had a couple really close beats for you, and you've been playing her throughout the year. As we move to take a look at the pace projector, I also wanted to remind that there are some really good wagers, Ashley, to keep an eye on that connect Friday to Saturday, too, because it's a big day on Saturday in Pennsylvania. So you have some of these wagers that connect, like the Mile and the Presque Masters, to the Cotillion and the Pennsylvania Derby on Saturday, and those are low takeout wagers. So just keep an eye on those because lots of different wagering menus on big days. Are you surprised by this pace projector at all?
No, I actually think the pace is going to be fast here. We talked a little bit about Pandora's Gift. She was not the pace setter last year, but she was close to fractions that were quick. They went 22 and change. Just a tick below there, you can see 45 to the half. And Stormcast has shown speed. I think really she has one way of going, which is towards the front. So I think the fractions are going to be very quick early on. And with that in mind, it's going to be very curious to see if this sets up for the closers.
Yeah, I think the key to the race is the 11 and what Flavian wants to do with that horse L&J, because she has speed. She's coming out of some of those quick sprint races she on the turf, and she kind of looks on paper a little bit like Pandora's Gift. They're coming out of those turf sprints, quick early fractions. To either one of those horses just want to go on with it because they're used to these early quick quarter miles. Let's meet the field for the Friday race of the day. You've got $300,000 up for grabs in the grade 2 Presque Isle Downs Masters, 6.5 furlongs on the synthetic over there at Presque Isle. We start with Tricky Temper, multiple New York bred stakes winner Ashley. This horse comes off of a pretty nice win at Saratoga on August the 22nd. Needs to probably step up on speed figures, but visually makes a big 4-wide bid up to the lead and goes on with it. What do you think about Tricky Temper in here?
I did like her last race. Obviously, it is a step below this field, to say the least, but I like the trip that she got. I think in here, what works well for her is her ability to sit close to it and the fact that she's going to draw the inside. You figure that she's going to save ground and be able to get herself into a good position without really having to work for it, but the surface is a big question mark. She has one turf race to go by, and I know she's buying Into Mischief, and they can run on anything and basically do anything that they want. And that's why you see the stud fee associated with Into Mischief. But I think you have to demand value on this one just because she typically doesn't string wins together. Yes, she did it 2 and 3 wins back, but that's over a year ago.
We move to Ticker Tape Home, and she's an important gal in this race. She's one of 3 that comes out of the Seaway, which is a real key prep race. Was up at Woodbine, and I believe we have a replay that we can show you of that one, where Ticker Tape Home was second, Elysian Field wins, and Stormcast runs third. And honestly, Ashley, I think you can make a legitimate case for like any one of them coming back in this race and running really well. We're going to watch Ticker Tape Home here as the 2 first. Elysian Field is the one on the outside that's going to come running. Stormcast actually runs pretty well. It's her first start off of a long layoff, and she kind of hangs in there down on the inside and battles pretty well. I honestly thought from a backtrack perspective, you could really take something positive out of all of these. Elysian Field probably needs a little bit more of a trip, but just 3 quality animals who are looking for different types of trips, and I think they all fit pretty well in this race.
Yeah, it is tough to kind of decide what to do with each of them as individuals. It depends on the race flow. I think if you look at Ticker Tape Home, my concern is this year, she just hasn't found the winner's circle. And I just feel like in the late stages of those races, regardless of the distance or the surface, others have more to offer. And that's my concern with her here, knowing that you mentioned she has to face Elysian Fields again, even go back to the Royal North. Ms. Tart was able to score an upset in there. And I just have some reservations about her getting the job done. I think if you want to use her underneath, can see that all day long. But for the top spot, it's a stretch for me.
Completely agree. Out of that race, I'm taking the winner and actually the third place finisher, the ones that I think are can come out and show the most out of that one. And the winner was Elysian Fields. This horse is a solid horse, Ashley. Multiple graded stakes winner. She's the Woodbine Oaks winner. She was the King's Plate runner-up from a couple years ago. She just needs a little bit of pace help because she wants to kind of sit back and launch from out of it, especially at this distance, right? At 6.5 or at 7 when she won most recently. But she's very honest. All 5 wins on the synthetic. She's 5 for 9. And she made that big, long 5-6 wide move and beat 2 of today's really main rivals.
Yeah, she is really good. I think when you look at some of her performances, you feel a little bit bad for her. I mean, look at the King's Plate. Go back 2 years ago. It was her stablemate, Paramount Prince, that beat her. And since then, she's made it to the winner's circle 3 times. I liked her performance in the Seaway. I give her a lot of credit. She was cutting back in distance, changing surfaces. You have to realize we've only seen her twice this year. And 3 starts back, she went 1.25 miles in the Maple Leaf. She's not necessarily been used to sprinting in a long time. And I still think she ran wonderfully last time out. She's tried 6.5. It was how she graduated. I think the pace flow flatters her. She did have the LP flag in the Timeform US pace projection, and she was very far back. We'll see how far back she is. She is going to be rolling from off of it, but I do think looking at some of her prior form in the past, she could get the right flow in here, and I really like her, especially at 6-1.
Yeah, and I'm curious how the race gets bet with the horses from Woodbine because she's up on the board at a little bit higher of a price. I wouldn't be shocked if they're pretty evenly matched with her and Stormcast, the two of them kind of being close to the same sort of price. Because actually, if she is around 6-1, that's really nice value on her in a race that I don't think will have any real short price in here. We move to Mitole Magic. She actually is one of the 3 that come out of the Satin and Lace, which was the local prep race at Presque. And if we're comparing and contrasting like prep races that have a couple, I actually prefer the Woodbine race. It just seems stronger on paper. Ashley seemed a little bit classier. Mitole Magic was second behind Miss Tart in that race. She really got a great opening down on the inside. Just felt like she might have been second best there.
Yeah, and I think the thing with the Seaway is just the fractions, and they went a little bit quicker. They had to go further, and then they obviously have better buyers. But I will say, Mitole Magic, another one that's been consistent throughout her career, and since going to this barn, she's done really well. She's done very little wrong. I do think, though, in some of her races, she's gotten that trip that's close to it, and she just doesn't have any late turnout foot. She's sort of stagnant and just kind of stays there. But I did think last time out, she ran well. But when you look at her and you look at Ms. Tart, I think Ms. Tart was the better of the 2.
She's honest. She's a local horse that they put in here and give a shot to see if she can get a piece of the big money. Gal in a Rush was actually 3rd in this race last year. She's a grade 3 winner. 2023, 2024, Ashley, I mean, they were really good years for her. And if she showed up with a race with her A game, that was a race from like then, she would be really tough in here. Hasn't quite been at that level in 4 starts this year. And that worries me a little bit when horses get older like this, when they're at 6 and when they get a little bit longer in the tooth. You wonder if they still have that same sort of, top effort like they would have earlier in their career. But she certainly has a little bit of back class. Wouldn't shock me at all to see her show up with a better effort. I just think you need to be rewarded with that in her. What do you think about Gal in a Rush in this spot?
She's a little intriguing. I think she was too far back last time out, and I don't think she wanted to go 6 furlongs. I think she wanted to go a little bit further than that. And kind of looking at her resume and her body of work completely, there have been times where at 6.5 or 7, she has been a little bit closer to it. So very curious to see what Joel Rosario takes away from the last out effort, what him and Miguel Clement decide to do here. I do think she's going to have to be a little bit more involved. I'm not saying she has to be on the lead or anything like that. That's crazy, but she can't be trailering in this field, I think, at the back end and trying to make up ground. She just gets herself into trouble. She did that last time out. She did that in the Royal North.
It's a great point with horses like this. It's not like you're asking them to be on the lead or sit in second. Just, do you not have to be dead last? Do you not have to go past every single horse and maybe get stuck in traffic multiple times? Certainly has some back class, and her races aren't bad this year. She's been the beaten favorite a couple times and like a little underwhelming. We move to Pandora's Gift. She's the real wild card in this race for me, Ashley. She was second in this field last year. I don't really know if 6.5 is her best distance, but I think she's classy enough to get really close, like she showed us last year. And she's coming out of some very strong races on the grass. She's been so unlucky. I wonder if she's just going to look over and not see future is now and be happy that she doesn't have to deal with that rival because she's been behind that one so much recently. But she's a horse who can sit close. She can also come from off the pace and pass horses a little bit. If she's a price in here, or if she's kind of forgotten about, she's definitely one of the players in this race.
Yeah, she's been in some tough spots, and you kind of look at her, she just hasn't been quite to the same level. You mentioned future is now. Even Pipsy decided to tackle the boys more recently at Kentucky Downs, where she was 5th in the turf sprint for a lot of money. I don't know how to read her. She's one that I wouldn't want to leave off my tickets, because I actually think her effort in this race last year was quite good. To miss by that narrow of a margin, I actually thought it worked out for her. But at the same time, I get your kind of sentiments here about 6.5. Is it pushing it? Would 6 be perfect for her on the surface? Maybe that's the case. I do think, though, if she's around this price, it's a pretty fair price on her, given what she's done in her last 2.
Absolutely agree. We move to a really cool Pennsylvania bred who's in nice form right now. 6 straight victories for Candy Reward. Likes this course too. 5 wins over this Presque synthetic. And you understand why they take a shot with a horse like this, because it's local. This horse likes this course and they want to see where they stack up. I probably would want a little bit bigger of a price than what she is on the morning line, just against this class level. But she's really honest and she's really sharp. And a lot of her races, Ashley, she's not even tested. A lot of them she's winning by open lengths very easily.
Yeah, wouldn't it be cool to have a horse that can go 6.5 on the synthetic, or a mile and 16th on the turf? And even her, her dirt races, she's been able to do that at a mile. She is very versatile. Her running style, though, is pretty much the same. And surface, she's versatile, but she wants to be forward. She gets the trip. I agree with you. I think you'd want better value on her. I mean, in comparison to her off odds, you're getting that. But for this level, this is still a big jump up in class. I do like, though, last time out, you can see it wasn't restricted, right? She got away from the Pennsylvania breds. Not to be critical of that by any means, but it was one little test that she had to answer. She was able to answer it nicely. We'll see. She's one that I'm going to put in the bottom of my tickets if she's a good price. But if she's, I don't know, anything shorter than this, or even this price, probably I don't use her.
We move to a Milliat, who is stakes placed on the turf. This horse won on the synthetic in the career debut, and then we've seen a steady diet of grass races since then. I wasn't sure what to do with this horse, Ashley. She was one that I left off, maybe just for the bottom of exotics. What do you do with this Irish bred?
I think she's better now that they have decided let's sprint her. I think they tried to off the 7 furlong effort. They went to Gulfstream Park. You kind of limited. You either go sprinting or you go 7.5, which there is a different configuration than some tracks, right? It's not like 7.5 or something similar on the EP Taylor. So since they've cut her back to these 1-turn events, I think she's been a lot better, but I still think she's a cup below. Her figures, not that they're everything, right? But she just needs to show me a little bit more. And I thought last time out, she sort of gave up a little bit in the end.
One thing that can help us or hurt us as gamblers, as horse players, is like we remember these horses that we liked or that we bet from early on in their career. One of them for me was Stormcast, who I always have been a fan of this filly. She's quick, Ashley. She's just had some gaps in her career recently where she's had long periods of time where we haven't seen her at the races. She shows back up a long layoff in the Seaway, and I thought ran pretty well. She was actually favored that day. Ran exactly like you would assume a horse coming off a long layoff. She was involved early. She tired, just didn't have as much finish late as some of the others. I'm curious if they want to get aggressive and try to go with her, because I don't know if she really wants to sit off all that much. When I handicapped this race initially without the morning lines, I was surprised that I saw her as the morning line favorite, I think, in this race. But then I looked back, and I guess there are like 3 or 4 horses that'll probably take a good amount of money. And between her and Elysian Fields, I think Pandora's Gift, the money will kind of be spread out a little bit. But she just feels like a good horse in a nice spot, second start off the bench, like very logical. A lot of things make sense for her, Ashley. I think it just comes down to the way the race shapes up. Does L&J push her a little bit? Is there others in here that show speed? If so, she's probably not going to get things her way. If 1 or 2 of those horses choose to take back and she goes, I think that's probably her best chance of winning this race.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, you mentioned she's 7-2. She's favored. It's not like she's heavily favored. I don't know if I would have her as the favorite on the morning.
I wouldn't.
Just because when I look at her wins, she wasn't really pressured in them. And I'm concerned if what happens last time out, right? Where in comparison to her November race to the August race, yes, it was off a layoff, both at the 7/8, they went almost 2 seconds quicker to the half. And she didn't make the lead, but she was chasing, makes the lead, and then tires. I have a little bit of a reservation in here because I don't think she makes the lead easy in here. And I'm not saying she can't win still. But just looking at her resume, I look at those races even earlier in her career. When she gets pressured, she sometimes doesn't have what she needs left late. So I think she's a must use, but I don't think she's a single.
And I think it's going to come down to just some tactics with a couple of these horses, and we'll talk about one of them, J, in just a second. First up, Miss Tart, who was a massive winner a few starts back. She wins a graded stakes, the Royal North at Woodbine. It's 70-1. Then she kind of goes off form a little in her next couple races, but she bounces back with a local prep win, and she beat Mitole Magic and Gallon a Rush that day. So what do you do with this one, who's been in pretty nice form with 2 of her last 4 races being stakes wins?
Yeah, it's tough. I think when you go to the win 4 back, she benefited from those fractions. They were suicidal early to go 22 and then 44 and 2 to the half. It just set up beautifully for her. 2 starts back. I guess the concerning thing is they went, a little bit on the quick side, not as quick, but she just didn't have as much there. And the fact that Ticker Tape Home finishes second, I don't think flatters her. But last time out, I thought her win in the Satin and Lace was very good. She got the pace help once again. So if you're using her in here, I guess the thought process is they're going to go quick and she's going to be able to pass some of her rivals.
That day she won the Royal North, I needed Ready to Jam, and some tears were shed that day, Ashley. And I was telling you some tears were shed last night as well when I was on the wrong side of that photo. J was next up. She feels like another top contender. I think she's one of the top 3-ish. I kind of had her stacked with, the couple of horses from Woodbine coming out of that graded stakes. She comes off a 3rd place finish, and she had some legitimate trouble in this race. She got bumped at the start. She was in between. She had some traffic. She lost position. She was down inside. She didn't want to move through a tight spot at the rail, and then she had to alter course. And I don't know if she would have won that race. She might have been able to finish a little bit closer to Future Is Now in here. And Future Is Now is kind of a good measuring stick for this race when you're looking at horses like Pandora's Gift and J, and you want to see kind of where they stack up class-wise. They've both been pretty close to Future Is Now. So I think from the outside, she's lightly raised. She's going to go second start off the bench. There's just a lot of positives for her.
There is. And, she's a 4-1 versus 7-2 on Stormcast. It's not a day and night difference, but in some ways, I feel like J maybe should have the 7-2 in that direction. But again, I can see there's cases against her in the sense that she hasn't tried a synthetic surface once in her career, and now she's going to go the furthest that she's ever gone, which is 6.5. With that said, she showed last time out when things don't go her way, in terms of her turf races, the furthest she's ever been back early on, she was able to close. She has made the lead easy and been able to open up on them. I think Ellis Park, the turf races, sort of flattered her in that way 3 starts back, but 2 starts back, I like the trip that she got. She had a target, she sat off, made a move, and she was the best horse in the race. So I would have to say she probably deserves to be the favorite, but another one that's got to take a step up, at least in class.
And when I think about particular strengths of riders, in my opinion, this on a horse like this is when Flavien Prat is so good. He just seems to know, should I go to the lead? Should I sit off? He's so good at making that decision with a speed horse in particular, and he's drawn to the outside with her. She feels like a major player in here if she takes to the surface. Let's round things out with Naughty Flavors. This horse has never faced stakes company, so we'll get a step up. Local horse, but just she's going to need a career best effort to compete with these, Ashley.
She's going to need a huge effort. 4 starts back, you could have claimed her for 5,000. And don't get me wrong, she's been running really well in her races since then. But career best would have been last time out. And it's still, very below some of these others in here, just with the 71. So tough endorsement for me.
We move to selections for the Friday race of the day, the Presque Downs Masters. And I think there are different ways you can go, but you and I have the same 4 horses, just in a slightly different order. Curious how they end up getting bet, because I just don't feel like anybody in this race should be that short of a price in here, Ashley.
No, and we'll use 2 of the Woodbine horses, right? And one is my top pick, the other is yours. For me, Elysian Fields, I just think she's going to be better in another kind of sprint race under her belt. I loved the way that she performed last time out. And, I think in terms of the way Pietro Moran rode her in that race was very smart. He got the pace help. He should get plenty of pace help here. He's just going to have to hope that he can pass some of the horses in this race. I think if it wasn't her for me, it was the number 11. And there's just a couple more things that I like with the 3 Elysian Field.
Yeah, I think the three horses that could be speed horses is what made this race a little tricky for me, because you have Pandora's Gift, who could show some speed. You have Stormcast, and then you have L&J. All three of them could. If all three of them show up and show speed, Ashley, your horse is going to win. I think Elysian Fields will probably get that type of trip. Maybe Stormcast can be the quickest of them, or sit right behind and cutting back a little bit, have some late punch in here. It's a really interesting renewal of the Presque Isle Downs Masters. It's going to be 3-11-6-9 for Ashley, 9-11-3-6 for me. Whoever you play, however you play them, we wish you the best of luck.